It is 12:05 on Monday, the day after, October 28th. I'd call it a victory Monday, Sarah, but that would not be fair of me whatsoever, being that the Ravens lost to Cleveland yesterday on the road, week 8. They fall to 5-3. And really on any other week, I think, when you look around the NFL, maybe they would have quite a bit of national reaction given to them. That was not the case this morning, at least, because when Jaden Daniels throws a Hail Mary and successfully walks off the Chicago Bears at home, when the Cowboys lose, and when Aaron Rodgers and the Jets collapse, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of chatter about Jameis Winston spoiling the Ravens' afternoon. But anyway, we do have a little bit of national reaction for you from Rex Ryan, former Ravens defensive coordinator. Today's live stream is brought to you by our friends at Manta Sleep. And as always, I'm Bobby Trassa, joined alongside Sarah Ellison. You got your parents to the airport, and I'm sure things have slowed down a little bit on your end, or maybe not.
Yeah, no, never slows down, but they are off. Thank you for, they love that you kept giving them shout outs during the show. But excited to turn the page and look at a little bit deeper at the defense, what Rex Ryan had to say, what can be done to help address issues. I've got 6 things here, Bobby, on my little card here that I want to get to in terms of, personnel changes or all that kind of stuff. So 6 things there. And then, while we are looking at the defense, we also need to look at the offense. And I'm just wondering, has Todd Monken learned his lesson from the AFC Championship game? So I wanted to get to that too.
On top of all that, Lamar Jackson venting some frustrations with a post-game tweet that was in response to something that you put up related to the tripping call that wasn't.
My mentions were popping off last night thanks to Lamar Jackson.
I'm sure they will, and I'm sure they were. And we'll also take a look at the Cleveland perspective as well. Jameis Winston said something in his post-game press conference related to that gift that he attempted to give Kyle Hamilton, which would have sealed the game, that I think is going to be a little bit painful. But you got to listen to it, and that'll be coming up over the next hour or so. We're so glad you're here. Please like the video on your way in if you've been enjoying the content. Thank you for allowing us to reach 19,000 subscriptions. We began this channel in July of 2022, and here we are almost 2.5 years later, closing in on another milestone of 20K. So if you would please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when we're dropping our live content. And again, thank you for being here, even though it is probably in under frustrating circumstances. Sarah, Rex Ryan had a lot to say today. It wasn't just the Ravens defense that he went off on. He went off on the Chicago Bears for being on the wrong side of that Hail Mary. But as you combed through, he did have a few things to say about Zach Orr's defense yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, he always has a lot to say Monday mornings, but as you mentioned earlier, they didn't give a lot of time to the segment of the Ravens-Browns game. They call it a hurry up, where they go through 3 games in probably 2 minutes. Whereas I don't understand it. They do the Dallas Cowboys, like they give them like 20 minutes 3 times throughout their 2-hour show. It's really, really annoying. But anyway, remember, Rex Ryan was running laps when the week before, I'm trying to remember, I think it was the Cincinnati game, something like that. He called the Ravens the best team in the NFL. And then he was running laps because he was proven right. Well, he may not have the same opinion anymore.
Another late lead. Rex, you've been calling them the best team in the NFL. Are they no longer that?
No.
They're not.
And here's why. I assumed Baltimore would play defense. I don't know why I assumed it. Maybe 30 years of great Baltimore defense. But this defense stinks right now. I don't understand it. You're playing against one of the worst offenses in football. And, look, your offense, I still think this is the best offense in football. That would be, outside of Detroit. But I'm telling you, this defense, this is a concern, man. This is an absolute concern.
Their defense has given up 17 passing touchdowns, worst in the league. 10 of those 17 have come in the fourth quarter. That is bad. Very bad by the Baltimore Ravens.
I love the Ravens. I don't trust the Ravens. There's one team that I inherently trust in the AFC, and it's the Kansas City Chiefs. And it's because of the defense. I can trust that defense. I'm borderline trusting the Bills, and the Ravens whooped them. The Ravens give me hesitation on their defense. They can't cover, and they truly, outside of Van Noy, can't get to the quarterback.
So, Bobby, what's kind of crazy about some of those quotes in there? I mean, obviously, Rex Ryan is correct. The defense is a concern. It's a major concern. But he's gone from saying the Ravens are the best team in the NFL. He's saying, well, that's because I was watching the offense and how good they were. And I was assuming that the Baltimore Ravens franchise, which has been good on defense for 30 years, I was assuming that they would have like some semblance of that. So he stands by saying, hey, they're the best offense in the league and puts them up there with Detroit. But now he's like, that assumption I had that the defense would be good is now gone. So he calls it a concern. And here's what's also funny, Bobby. And obviously, I wish they gave him more time. I wish he could have dissected the game more. Maybe he will throughout this week. I don't know. But he literally says the 4 words, which you don't want to hear from a former Ravens defensive coordinator, a guru for sure. He's been coaching defense all of his life. He says, I don't understand it. It's like, crap. If Rex Ryan doesn't understand it, then where do we go from here? And then I particularly felt Dan Orlovsky's comment, Bobby, where he said, I love the Ravens, but I don't trust the Ravens. And I feel like that could be a tagline for this 2024 team who, especially in offense, just at times seem unstoppable. But then you have a Vegas game, or you have a near collapse in Dallas, or you have a Browns game. And it's just like, you love them. You love all the talent, especially on offense, but it's so hard to trust them.
For sure. And perhaps lost in the shuffle, right? Caught in the shuffle of everything that took place, the missed opportunities segment that we probably spent, 20, 25 minutes on during last night's post-game show was yet another addition to this concerning trend that we've seen in recent years, the inability to close, right? This was the 8th loss when leading inside the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter since the beginning of the 2022 season. No other team has amassed that many losses in this league over that span. So, and I think a lot of it has to do with what a disturbing trend. Speaking of trends, Jonas Schaefer popped up this true media statistic that speaks to not only what was going wrong for the Ravens yesterday, but really over the course of this season, defensively speaking. Opposing quarterbacks are getting an average of 3.96 seconds to throw on 3rd and long. Okay,
Ooh.
Cleveland was really successful on 3rd down, particularly on 3rd and long, which is, as Jonas notes here, 7+ yard situations, 7 or more. And so that's the worst mark for any team in the past decade, according to True Media, and almost a half second slower than the runner-up at 3.52 seconds. So yet again, if we're looking at where do we go from here, hopefully Eric DeCosta over the next 9 days, 8 days till the November 5th trade deadline can help a little bit when it comes to acquiring some more help for a group that just is not getting home, Sarah, much less even pressure, consistent pressure on the quarterback.
Bro, the worst mark for any team in the past decade?
Yeah.
On 3rd and longs. Holy crap. And it's so true. Like, there was just time and time again where the Browns offense was in 3rd and long, and I was just like, well, pretty good chance they're going to convert this. Count it. Like,
count the basket.
just let it keep going. Like before, like, I almost longed for the days at the beginning of this season or at the end of last season where the Ravens couldn't finish. It was just like, oh, you're playing good for 3 quarters, 3.5 quarters, and then the fourth quarter or half of the fourth quarter, you're giving it up. But it's like, this is just like the whole game.
Yeah.
Just allowing we joked about it yesterday that, he could wake up, brush his teeth, get showered, eat breakfast, move on to work, and then throw the ball. You know what I mean? And then finally throw the ball. I mean, it was just like he had all the time in the world.
Yeah, yeah. And, I guess the concerning is, too, by the way, the statistic on 3rd down efficiency for Cleveland, awfully efficient, 8 for 15. They were 8 for 15 on 3rd down. Baltimore was 2 for 10. So that's just a staggering statistic from yesterday that tells a lot of the story. But my concern,
an offense
Sarah,
that was like, if not the worst, one of the worst in offensive past DVOA, I believe.
Right.
It's just terrible.
And had yet to put up, until yesterday, what we know, 20 points this season. Well, they were able to put up 29, and it was good enough for a win on Sunday in Cleveland. But I guess the concern is 8 days out from that deadline, we keep talking about the pass rush and hopefully somebody who comes in. Then I kind of like put on my pessimistic hat, or maybe just based in reality hat, and I ask myself, is one player going to be able to do what Roquan Smith did 2 years ago when he was brought in and this defense completely overhauled overnight, yet it was just one change? I find that to be a tall task, and I don't know how realistic that is. So we can keep calling for this player all we want, but there's got to be, dare I say, like wholesale changes in order to truly get this defense into a point where it's not creating a certain margin for error offensively. I was thinking about that during the gym, during my workout this morning. Like, there is a certain margin for error that this offense has been living within for weeks now. Really, the entire season, aside from the Buffalo game. I thought the defense played pretty well aside from the middle of the field on opening night against Kansas City. That's a tough world to live in. And after a while, when you have a pedestrian-like performance the way they did yesterday, I think that's fair to say, based on what they've put forth as the number one offense entering last weekend. That's a hard world to live in.
Well, I'm going to get to my 6 changes a little bit later on, but I definitely I think that there are ways to fix things, some easier than others.
Let's talk about Eddie Jackson and Marcus Williams, 2 players that one played, one didn't. Both are being talked about heavily right now for good reason. Marcus Williams with a healthy scratch, Sarah. John Harbaugh, as we talked about during our post-game live stream last night, mentioned that it was an internal matter. This is something
sort of. He said it was a personnel decision. It was a personnel decision. He thinks that Marcus Williams is going to play. He's confident that he'll come back and play good football. And then he said it was an internal type situation. So I just want to make sure we get that exactly correct, because if he called it a personnel decision and then later said it's an internal type situation.
Yeah, so he was in uniform all throughout the game. There's photos of him obviously on the sideline, on the outside looking in. And then you have players like Eddie Jackson, who started at safety, somebody who they brought in at the latter half of free agency. He played his entire career in Chicago prior to this year. And this was sort of a move that a lot of the fan base I can remember was calling for a guy like Justin Simmons, but he went to Atlanta for a lot more money. And given the Ravens cap situation, perhaps that was an area where they were just trying to be smart and save if they could. Eddie Jackson talked with reporters after the game and repeatedly said that the Ravens are in a, quote, funk. He also took responsibility, as Jeff notes here, for his role in said funk. And here is part of his post-game interview yesterday in the Ravens locker room.
It's great. Left a lot of opportunities out there. Got to come out and get better. Everybody be on one accord and just make the plays when they come to us. Just keep getting on the jugs, making those plays in practice. We just got to make them. You know, you say this and say that. I feel like we've been on the jugs. We've been doing everything. It's just in the funk right now. Yeah, I feel like it's just not making those plays when they come to us, man. I feel like it's simple as that. We just got to make them. You know, there's no big theory behind it. It's just in the funk right now. We got to get out of, because a lot of those is big game-changing plays if we make those. So during the week, we kind of figured we knew it was gonna be me and AD out there. So, and just got to come down with it, man. Just continue to work on it and see the ball through, man. It's like a funk right now, man. It's just, like I said, there's no big theory behind it. Just got to catch the ball, and it sounds crazy, but just got to come up with them. We just got to keep our foot on the pedal. Everyone be on one accord. Got to continue to play. Don't get lax. And like I said, we got to make those plays. Like, it's no excuse for nothing that happened out there. We just got to make those plays when they come to us. Them is huge game-changing plays for us. And we got the guys that can do it in the room. We just got to continue to work at it and come up with it when it comes to the game. I mean, it's here and there. We just got to echo the call, everyone, so everybody can be on the same page. That's something we can continue to work on and keep improving. But we just got to, like I said, man, we had some big opportunities that we missed and left out there that a lot of us wish we can have back. But now we just got to, live with this one, take it on the chin, and get ready for, next week. But it's going to suck, Just keep working. I feel like we work hard. We come in every week. We work hard in practice, and we just got to let it translate to the game. And then again, like I said, we just got to make those plays when they come to us. I had a few of them I just left out there that's, got me sick. I know we just got to come out. We just got to make them. That's it. Coach putting us in position to make those plays. And like I said, we got to get out this funk that we in. Man, cover zero, tough spot, but, I got to play it better. Simple as that.
Eddie Jackson facing the music post-game. Sarah, that last answer right there was in response to the cover zero assignment that he had, or the Ravens decided to use on that final play, what ended up becoming the game-winning touchdown from Jameis Winston to Cedric Tillman. So Eddie was just on the wrong side of a number of things yesterday, potentially 3 would-be interceptions that went through his hands. And then, of course, he was on that coverage of Tillman in what ended up being the difference yesterday in Cleveland. He did face the music. Other guys left the locker room before the media came. So you got to kind of tip your cap there, even though it's hard to listen to. I get it. But tough afternoon for a veteran there, for sure.
And what else can you say other than, like, I just got to catch the ball? And so it's like, I got to catch it. And so that's why when you kept hearing, we're in a funk, it was repeated questions about his failed interceptions. And so it's like, well, yeah, you just got to catch it. He's like, you get on the jugs machine and you got to follow through with your eyes and you got to snap out of your funk. When we look at the snap count, we see that Jalen Armour-Davis and Eddie Jackson did indeed play the whole game, while Marcus Williams didn't play a single snap, not a single snap. On the offensive side, we'll talk about the offense later. It was a light day for Ricard. Remember, we had a super chat making that point. And when Derrick Henry's only getting 11 carries, I promise you Ricard's not going to have a heavy day either. So, but I do want to clarify some things on Marcus Williams that I don't know, maybe getting misinterpreted or whatever. And we highlighted it yesterday on the show. A bunch of people have been talking about perhaps Marcus Williams said or did something that maybe got him benched. I had said yesterday that it for sure is partly play that he was benched. I mean, he was ranked among the 3 worst safeties in the league, for sure, was not playing well. I don't know anybody in Ravens flock that wasn't torching him. And so, but people kind of took that and maybe started going too far, so they kept bringing it to Jeff Zrebeck, and he's like, what are you guys talking about? Like, what exactly did he say? So one guy brought back Cordell Woodland's tweet from last week, which we highlighted. And it said, I asked Marcus Williams if his role has changed this year compared to last. I don't really know. I just do my job. Whatever they ask me, I'm going to do it. At that point on Friday, Bobby, he already knew that he wasn't going to be playing because Eddie Jackson explained that he knew he was going to be playing on Wednesday. He knew that he was going to get the start. So Marcus Williams, that's all he said. So Cordell comes back and says, I've tried to tell people many times that this quote was more of a non-answer than anything. I think people have blown his answer way out of proportion by taking it so literally. And Jeff says, yeah, that's quite a leap to suggest that comment caused this. And I don't know. We didn't suggest that yesterday. I don't know if anybody suggested that. It was more like it's a sign that he's frustrated, which of course he would be if he's already been told he's not going to play. He's not going to start. He says he was demoted in time for Wednesday afternoon's practice, which was well before you spoke to him, I assume. And then Cordell said yes. So they just want to say that they feel like Cordell, especially who put that tweet out, said that he feels like people are reading too much into it. He was just trying to give a non-answer. Like, I really don't know. I just got to do my job. Like, it's not my place to question coaches. So anyway, I think obviously the biggest reason why he was benched is because of his play, but there's certainly room to wonder, is there something else at play? Because
the deadline's looming.
A deadline. Well, I don't even really think that has much to do with it. Are you talking about the trade deadline?
Well, I was just referring to these tweets that you had in here from Jeff that was answering some speculation from other fans.
Right. There's no way Marcus Williams is going to be traded. You tell me what you would think of Eric DaCosta if he traded assets for a guy that's been ranked among the 3 worst safeties in the league.
Who's the 3rd highest cap hit on the team. No,
Who's
I'm not
also-
suggesting that at all. It's more along the lines of just what, to this slide's point right here, right? Others
Right.
perhaps addressing some speculation here, as Jeff did. Someone on X asked him, maybe he's on the trading block and they don't want risk of injury. And Jeff was like, well, then scratch him and get a healthy body in the game day plans. They were already short 2 DBs, Wiggins and Humphrey, and then lost 2 defensive linemen during the game, Pierce and Urban. If it was that, he presumably would have been inactive.
Exactly. Because you would you're still like, if Eddie had gotten hurt, then Marcus Williams would have gone right back in, and you're not, I mean, if you're going to trade him. So I just want to put out there that trading Marcus Williams is not an option.
No,
it's not an option.
You got to have a willing partner. Who's going to be the willing partner right now?
Right. So maybe at this point, Bobby, maybe we got some super chats to get to. We do that, and maybe we come back and I'll go through my 6 things that the Ravens can do to address the defensive issues.
Definitely. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Manta Sleep. It's the official sleep mask partner of us here inside the vault. You know what it gives you by now. The Manta Sleep Mask Pro is what you're seeing on the screen. Gives you true 100% blackout for a deeper sleep. C-shaped eye cups for unbeatable side sleep comfort are included. 0 pressure on your eyelids or lashes. Advanced materials built in with ventilation for unmatched breathability. And if you go to mantasleep.com and you use our discount code at checkout, that's VAULT10, VAULT10, you'll get 10% off your next purchase. I know there's a bunch of other options there when you go over to the site, including the Bluetooth option, which is a cool sound type of mask that I know Sarah's kids enjoy. And if you like going to bed with a little bit of white noise or something along those lines, that could be super helpful and increase good and efficient sleep. So thanks to Manta Sleep for continuing to support us. We appreciate them, and go check them out by visiting the link that we have included in the show notes below. And it's also a pinned comment. Let's get to some comments as well that are super chats. Rave Kingdom just threw in an orange $20 super chat donation. And Rave says, no excuse. I was told Bate just needs an opportunity. This is not 1, 2, 3, or 4 devastating drops from him. Son, he's got me working here. Zach sucks. Marcus Williams was internal. So was Ben. Hollywood, Peters, Dez, etc. This sounds like John. Get a wide receiver and edge now. Rave is running hot, and he's got me running around in circles trying to read his comment. Corey says,
he was basically saying he's not buying the excuse that Bateman, he said he was saying, son, my behind. So he's not buying the son excuse.
Oh, son. Yeah, S-U-N.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I read that differently. Son of a or something like that. Corey Copeland's calling for a players-only meeting. Tom says, this loss is on the entire team. All phases looked horrible. Harbaugh needs to go. He's had an issue for closing out games all the way back to his Super Bowl second-half meltdown. Wake up. He needs to go. Gabe says, all things staying constant defensively, does Harbs survive this year? A lot of questions about Harbs this afternoon. Ray Dog says, as Ravens fans, our best bet is hoping Lamar nabs another MVP and Henry takes the offensive player of the year. Super Bowl? Not likely. Barbecue says, I'm hoping when the smoke settles after the trade deadline and we make 0 moves, we don't hear, quote, we are happy with the guys we have.
Oh, that's exactly what you would hear. That is exactly if they make no moves.
Either way, for sure.
Yeah.
Yang Yi says, Bobby and Sarah, put your owner and GM and coaching hats on. How do we fix the Ravens' trash defense? We're going to get into that.
It's a perfect setup.
Rossi Clark says, I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and going to my first home Ravens game versus Denver. What do I need to know about the bank? Any chance I need to know? Tailgates. Well, I can help you out with the tailgate, Rossi. Be More Around Town, which is located at 801 West Austin Street. BeMoreAroundTown.com is where you can get your tickets. That's where I'll be pregame live streaming coming up next Sunday. So from 11 to kickoff, come on and hang out. It's a great time. All kinds of food and drink options and live music and really good stuff. Hopefully get to see it, Rossi, and safe travels. And one final super chat here, at least for the early going. We've got 9 so far. We appreciate you guys for being here. Almost 3,000 of you concurrently watching us this afternoon. Christian Watson says, will the Manta sleep mask help me forget this horrible loss to the Browns? You never know. It's got superpowers, I hear. There's a lot of different features that
people want to sleep their way through their depression here today, Bobby.
Oh, we're fully caught up to speed now. We're glad you guys are here. We just hit the 3,000 plus mark. So like the video on your way in, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And we're here to commiserate with you. So where to next?
So Bobby, probably the number one question that we got last night, I've gotten on Twitter, it just is nonstop, is whether it's a question or a demand, kind of a comment. It's should the Ravens fire Zach Orr? Some people are just saying they just should. They're just straight up not asking, just saying go and do it. So obviously there's two ways to look at it. It's like, should the Ravens fire Zach Orr? And then there's, will the Ravens fire Zach Orr? The will is a prediction of what they will do. No, they will not fire Zach Orr. Should they? I also don't think that they should. I think that if you were to move on from Zach Orr, you have to, at 8 weeks into the season, you have to promote from within. And so everybody that's like, oh, go and get Saleh, who, by the way, is in Detroit, or go get Bill Belichick, you can't in week 8 change your defensive system.
Saleh's in Green Bay.
Green Bay. So you can't bring in somebody new, and you would have to promote from within. And instead of doing that, there's I'll get to this last. There's other ways of what you can do with coaches that are internal rather than just making him step aside. But here's 6 ways to address the defense. Doesn't mean they're going to be number 1 overnight, but you can certainly make things better. Number 1, and this is most obvious and the easiest to fix, catch the freaking ball. Catch the picks that are in your hands. Whether you're a regular starter, Nate Wiggins, whether you're an all-pro having a good game, Kyle Hamilton, whether you're a regular contributor but not a starter, Ardarius Washington, or whether you're off the bench and your coaches are using you to send a message to the starter, Eddie Jackson. The ball is in your hands. You have to corral it. Period. Point blank. Bobby, that alone, again, it's not going to solve all the issues, but you think back to the Cincinnati Bengals game. What changed it in the Ravens' favor? Marlon Humphrey's pick. He picked off Joe Burrow, who was eating and cooking, just eating the defense alive. And then the same thing happened with the momentum change, was Marlon Humphrey's pick against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Eddie Jackson catches any of those, or Kyle Hamilton comes down with it, the ball game is over. It's still terrible defense. You're giving up a ton of yards. But if you turnovers cure a lot of issues, we saw it twice already, and it could have happened yesterday. Catch the ball when they're in your hands. I don't want to hear about funks. I don't want to hear about we tried. I don't want to hear that we worked. Just catch the ball. It's not about trying. It's about doing it. That's the first and most obvious thing, Bobby, that will overcome so much of the other issues. Get
One
the
note
turnovers.
on that.
Yes,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One note on that. The Ravens have a team, 5 interceptions through now 8 weeks. They could have had 5 yesterday. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe 3 or 4. But like, as a team, they've had 5. You just named at least 4 culprits who each
from
could have
over
had
the time.
multiple over the course of the last month, who
Sure.
each could have multiple, have had multiple. And the Ravens as a team could and should be in the double-digit category in terms of takeaways, but they're not.
Right.
Just wanted to add that in there.
So number 2, again, I'm going with the obvious stuff. Get healthy. Marlon Humphrey, again, he's been the difference maker in 2 games and getting picks. Nate Wiggins still has his rookie moments, has also got to catch the ball, but you got to get healthy. Nate Wiggins out there would make a big difference over Jalen Armour-Davis, and I'm not trying to totally throw him under the bus. He just came off of IR. Arthur Mollett, I expect him to get better. He just came off of IR. So this is the most obvious and most easy second thing, get healthy, which I think they will. The third one, and this one, I don't know that people are going to like, but I just see no other option. The benching of Marcus Williams. I understand why they did it. He was not playing well. Had Eddie Jackson caught those 2 picks, The message that John Harbaugh and Zachary Orr, whatever message they were trying to send, because they were clearly trying to send a message by benching him, whatever message they were trying to send would have been like, see, Eddie Jackson, who's getting paid almost nothing compared to you, just came up with 2 picks and was the difference in the game. Because, and they would probably say, because he's doing whatever they're asking Marcus to do, and he's not able to do. So I don't know what exact message they were trying to send, but clearly a message was trying to be sent. But because Eddie Jackson dropped those picks, gave up touchdowns, didn't play over well, there was a backfire effect. Now Marcus Williams can say back to them, see, like it's not all on me. If I don't know that that's what they're saying. I'm sure it's not, but there was a backfire effect. Here's the reality of the situation, Bobby. You've pointed out he's being played. His cap hit is 18 million plus. I feel like this is on the coaches to make sure that their $18 million safety is on the field and playing well. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. They can maybe sprinkle in Bo Braid as people want, or Sanusi Kane. You can sprinkle it in. That's fine. But to just hand it over to either an undrafted rookie or a 7th round rookie in the middle of an already terrible pass defense, then you're just throwing them to the wolves. Like, it's just like a no-win situation for these young guys. I feel like you'd be putting them in a terrible situation. So it's figure out Marcus Williams, and that's Williams with the coaches. Whatever message was trying to be sent, it backfired right into the coaches' faces. Any thoughts before I move on to my next one?
Keep going.
Okay, number 4. Live chat. I don't even know what they're saying, but I see live chat moving quick. Okay.
It's ripping.
Number 4.
It was like an avalanche.
I need player leadership to step up. Bobby, maybe, and I will, if there's a good reason, maybe Kyle Hamilton and maybe Roquan Smith had to go do treatment. Couldn't be a plain thing because other defensive players were in there talking to the media. So it can't be that they were rushing to get out. Maybe they had to go do treatment. I don't know. But short of, if I'll just say it this way, if they left because they didn't want to talk to the media and it wasn't some extenuating circumstance like they had to get treatment or something else, then that's a poor reflection of their leadership. It is when your defense is in the darkest moments. I saw people, and I get it, they weren't the best answers. Eddie Jackson, not the best answers. You don't like hearing, oh, we're just in a funk, oh, we're just in a funk, we're just in a funk. Nobody likes to hear that. And his energy was low, all that kind of stuff. But he faced the music. Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton, along with Marlon Humphrey, who was injured though, those 2 guys are your leaders. They're your leaders. They're the player leaders. And unfortunately, coordinators aren't even allowed to be asked any questions. I would love to be able to talk to Zach Orr and all that too. But you're not taking questions. What kind of message are you sending to the other guys? Where are you? Like, it is in your darkest moment where you just gave up all these points to a team that had never even scored 20 points before meeting you. And then you're not there. Like, they could have given terrible answers, but show up. Show up for your team. So Roquan Smith has not played his best this year. Kyle Hamilton has played outstanding, but then lost that last catch. You got to be in there and show that you're the leaders of the defense. If there's questions about what we're doing, if we're faltering, we will stand up and speak with you. I would like that message to be sent by leadership. That was number 4. Go ahead, Bobby.
Watching Bradley Bozeman, former Raven, protect his quarterback yesterday when Justin Herbert was the victim of a dirty play, and Bozeman came out of nowhere and absolutely just shoved this defender. It reminded me, like, who's going to inject some life into the defense? It's been the one side of the ball that lacks. We can talk about identity and use these types of phrases and whatnot, but how about some life? Who's going to bring in some juice, some zest to this defensive side? That's been Roquan in the past, but on all 3 levels, it just has not been good enough. And I'm just wondering, who's going to be that guy to completely change around the makeup of this defense right now? because I'm not seeing a level of enthusiasm, a level of toughness that we're used to seeing from that group. And it's really shocking and jarring coming off of last year, being that they were a complete defense. Now we know how much was lost, both personnel wise, coaching wise, and whatnot. But they need a little bit of an infusion right now.
Well, maybe number 5 could help that. My number 5 is make a trade Eric DeCosta, preferably for an edge rusher. I could be talked into a safety or other positions, but ideally it would be for a pass rusher. We went through the numbers at the top of the show. The amount of time that's given up on 3rd and long is the worst in over a decade. There was very little pressure on Jameis Winston yesterday. You had mentioned, will one guy really have the Roquan effect? I don't know. But I do think that you've got to go out and try. I do not want to waste Lamar Jackson prime years. I don't want to do it. And the offense has so many tools. Could they use another, I don't know, outside receiver or depth at wide receiver? You can argue that for sure. But when you got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and these guys want more than anything to win a Super Bowl, and your biggest, clearest weakness is defense, and on defense, you're getting no pressure on opposing quarterbacks. I'm even here, Bobby. Again, it would have to be for a premier pass rusher, but if he wanted to give up something as high as a second, which is what he did for Roquan. Roquan Smith, he provided a jolt. We saw Marcus Peters. He provided a jolt. We saw Jameis Winston just now. Jameis Winston came in and provided a jolt for the Browns. These things do work. Sometimes they don't. We look at what just happened with Devontae Adams up in the Jets. That didn't work, but they also have much bigger problems. So I feel like Eric DeCosta needs to make a move. He's got to, it's
8 days away.
A week from tomorrow, right? Yes. He's got to make a trade. There's got to be a jolt. Even there's the jolt part of it, and then there's just the pass rush is not getting home. When you're allowing Jameis Winston to look like Peyton Manning back there, you got to get some pressure. And I feel like the pressure would help the secondary. Although I could be talked into another one, but he's got to make a trade. So that's not as easy as some of these other ones I've named, but I think it needs to happen. And then number 6 concerns Zachary Orr. Listen, I understand that people want to see him gone. I fully understand. I have yet to see through 8 weeks something that gives me hope that he's going to be a phenomenal coordinator, that he's going to somehow turn things around. I haven't seen anything that gives me hope. But as I said, it's more than just that. You can't go out and get a brand new defensive coordinator and change up the scheme in the middle of the season. You'd have to promote from inside. But I think what the best move, given all the context that we have right now in week 8, we can revisit this in the offseason of what to do with Zach Orr. You have got to put everything. You have to figure out a way to make him succeed. John Harbaugh made this pick. He had plenty of guys to choose from. They're all gone. Now, this in no way excuses what's going on in here, but I have seen people say, well, they should have picked one of these other guys instead. So Spencer Schultz, who was defending Zach Orr all day yesterday, which that's fine. He needs defense too. I'm not totally buying everything that Spencer was saying. I definitely think that Zach Orr is a problem.
I was doing a lot of defending too, just so everybody knows.
Yes, you were, and we are on different pages there. Obviously, they need to make those picks, but I'm just not. I just haven't seen much from Zach Orr yet, but I'm still not there on the firing bandwagon. So, but Spencer Schultz gives some context around what else is going on. So yesterday, Zach Orr's defense allowed 400 yards, and they dropped 5 picks. Denard Wilson's defense, which is in Tennessee, and he used to be the DB coach here in Baltimore, his defense allowed 5 first-half touchdowns. Anthony Weaver, who's now the DC in Miami, his defense allowed late scores to blow a lead. So same type of issues that the Ravens have had with finishing. And then Mike McDonald's defense just got drummed by Josh Allen and company, says Spencer Schultz. I think they lost 31-10 Seattle. Seattle started strong and has been going downhill. So I partly bring this up to, yes, give that context, but more than anything, to remind everybody that it's not just Zach Orr, but that you lost Denard Wilson, Anthony Weaver, and Mike McDonald. So that was like an all-star cast. Now you've got one that's a head coach, two more that are defensive coordinators. Then you chose one. You promoted one now as a defensive coordinator. So he's drinking from the fire hose right now. And to me, if you threw him by the wayside, that to me is the equivalent of drafting a first-round quarterback, giving him 8 games, and then throwing him away. And it's like, well, that's more on you as an organization than it is on that rookie quarterback, that you didn't put him in a position to succeed. So what you have to do is you have to surround him like you would surround a rookie quarterback. And you've got to find, the whole staff has to like help. The whole staff, the DBs coach, everybody, John Harbaugh, like all of it. Everybody has to rally. And that's why they brought in Dean Pease. It hasn't had much of an impact yet. But to me, that's the only option right now, Bobby. I just don't see another option. You've brought in Dean Pease. Somebody asked Jeff Zrebiec, hey, should they bring in additional voices? And Jeff's like, you can't keep just bringing in more voices. That's not going to help things. It just adds the question of who to listen to, who's in charge, and it adds to a circus. He says, if you do add, then you need to subtract. And so it's just where we are through 8 weeks. It's not realistic to throw him out and bring in somebody new. So instead, you've got to continue to rally around him. Like, it's not the best scenario. I wish there were better options. That's all you can do. Everybody's got to get behind him and help him succeed one way or another. So those are the 6 things, some being much easier than others, some more obvious than others, but those are my 6.
It's been a murderer's row beginning to his career as a first-year defensive play caller. It's been a first-place schedule. They've played elite quarterback after elite quarterback, aside from Jameis Winston and Gardner Minshew. They were banged up in the secondary yesterday, as you already noted. Their defensive line got gashed with injuries in-game when Brent Urban and Michael Pierce went down, which led to some chunk runs for Nick Chubb in Cleveland. And player execution, not just yesterday, just has not been championship caliber on the defensive side of the ball. All 3 of those reasons are one of the reasons why I've been pushing back on a lot of the Zach Orr criticism. You make really great points. I think a lot of people have as well online. The scheme schematically has been lackluster. Kurt Bankert, former NFL QB, just finished up the all-22 breakdown of Jameis Winston, and he tweeted, my number one takeaway is that the Ravens, not his number one takeaway wasn't Jameis going for 300 plus, right. Wasn't Jameis throwing for a few touchdowns, wasn't Jameis's return to the NFL, so on and so forth. His number one takeaway is that the Ravens defense schematically is so unsound. There's no way they win a Super Bowl if they stay in the scheme that they're running. They give so many free completions everywhere because they want to disguise every single play. I feel like I'm watching Joe Barry all over again, which is a Packers fans reference.
See, so, that's why I'm not here. Like what I'm saying is I'm not here to defend him. I think again, I've said this, I said it last night and I just said it. There hasn't been anything I've seen from Zachary Orr that gives me a ton of confidence.
Well, the run defense has been stout entering this past weekend. The number 1 ranked run defense.
Yes, but Bobby, look at the attempts. It's because you have it's in part because you have the 32nd pass defense. And why run it? A lot of times you run it to set up the pass game. You don't even have to do that against the Ravens defense. Their pass game is atrocious.
The strategy is clear.
I just think that people have been overblowing how good the pass or the rush defense has been when it really hasn't been tested too much in my view.
Well, the strategy's been clear. when going in, you're obviously going to throw it, and the Ravens better honor it, and they haven't honored it, which is why it's been open for business, which is why Jameis Winston just made his first career start as a Cleveland Brown and was able to light them up. The Ravens have allowed a league-high 9 touchdowns, Sarah, from outside of the red zone. Let me say that again. They've allowed a league-high 9 touchdowns from outside of the red zone. It's just, they are so susceptible right now on the back end. Listen to Jameis Winston yesterday speak about the ball that he threw. It was a gift to Kyle Hamilton that would have sealed the game there in the 4th quarter. Listen to what his first reaction was when the ball left his hand.
Instantly. I started praying instantly. Like, it was only by the grace of God. And I think when situations like that happen, you always sit back and you're like, man, I still got the stuff to work on, right? Because it could have been a matter of whatever. Who knows how we would feel right now if that would have happened. But I'm so grateful that that was an if. And ifs and shoulds and woulda, couldas don't mean nothing in this game.
He always makes me smile.
That's a guy that I think understands just how much he got away with one there. Oh, I started praying instantly. It was only by the grace of God. Jameis Winston on the ball that he threw to Kyle Hamilton, directly to Kyle Hamilton.
That's crazy. That's crazy. He's just like, he knew it was terrible. He knew he threw it right to. How many prayers did he say then? I just need to know. He must have been praying up a lot during that game because
right?
he
Because
knew.
he finished with a clean stat line, and yet that was one of potentially 3 or 4 interceptions that he easily could have walked away with.
Oh,
Instead, he goes, what did he finish with? 3 touchdowns and no picks.
oh. I don't know how many of his touchdowns came after missed picks. Obviously, the one with Kyle
the
Hamilton,
one that Kyle
right?
should have had.
Yeah,
the next
that
snap.
ended with the touchdown the next play. So that already would have moved it to like 2-1 at least. And then Eddie Jackson's could have been like either 2-3 or 1-3 or maybe 0-3. Who knows? Yeah, but
People
holy
are saying,
cow,
congrats,
man!
your prayers were answered. They're saying in the live chat,
Yeah.
they were. Jameis's prayers were answered in an instant, weren't they?
Whether they were answered by God or Kyle Hamilton and Eddie Jackson, I don't know, but it was answered.
Some more super chats here that are coming in.
All right.
We also have a trade 8 days out from the deadline that just came down here. The Patriots are sending a pass rusher to the Kansas City Chiefs. How do you pronounce his last name, live chat? It's Josh Uche. I should know.
Uchi?
But New England is sending a pass rusher to Kansas City. So the Chiefs are yeah. Yep. Rich get richer.
Your move, EDC. Your move.
Let's see. Josh Uche. I assume you guys can hear that.
Yeah, I could hear it.
Super chat donations. Captain Hard says they seem not to believe in Zach Orr. I don't know why. I just don't see a buy-in on defense.
Are you talking about? Is he talking about players?
Yeah, who's they? Captain, I don't know. I assume so.
Yeah.
Scott says, couple questions. Should we move Marlon to safety? How many times did we blitz yesterday? Seems like not enough. The defensive play calling is critical.
I mean, we got this question a while ago. I mean, listen. I don't know. Would you prefer to see? I mean, it's all about getting your best players out there. I mean, you want a free safety out there. But it's like, would you rather have Kyle Hamilton and Marlon, and then assuming Wiggins is healthy, and then you got Stevens. And then so, I mean, yeah, now you've got enough guys that could be in the slot because they've been doing Stevens and Wiggins on the outside with Marlon kind of inside. Is it better to put Mollett or Ardarius Washington there on the inside slot cornerback, and then take off Eddie Jackson, take off Marcus Williams, take off everybody, and then put Marlon there? I mean, you'd think that Marlon would want an off season to transition to safety, but at times it's just like, if somebody doesn't step up, that might have to be a move that you do out of desperation midseason.
If Marlon and Nate are ready to go next week, and Eddie Jackson plays a good chunk of the snap, if he plays a lot next week, I'll definitely be even more confused than I am right now after his performance. Yvette Big says, great job, Bobby and Sarah, as always. I was at the game. Playing on both sides was painful to watch. Oh, the playing on both sides of the ball was painful to watch. Stop dropping the dang ball.
Amen.
Yvette, thank you. Evan says, this team has an all-pro defensive tackle, an all-pro linebacker, an all-pro safety, and Humphrey playing at a Pro Bowl level. It's hard to say this is a personnel issue. Orr needs to get these guys motivated and on the same page.
or schemed up properly. No, I agree with all that. Minus pass rusher. I still think they need help at pass rusher. But he's right. Look at all those players. Yeah, I mean, you go from like the number one defense in points per game, and it just that's why I don't excuse Zachary Orr, Bobby. I'm not on board with firing because I don't think that's going to make anything better. But I don't excuse him.
I don't excuse him either. Evan, like the thing is here is that, you mentioned, all right, the all-pro defensive tackle is Nnamdi. The all-pro linebacker is Roquan. And the all-pro safety is Hamilton. Those were designations and labels and accolades that they were last year.
That's the point.
But they haven't been this year.
That's the point.
But why isn't that more about a player execution than it is scheme and Zach?
Because that's 5 different people versus 1. So you're telling me 5 people magically fell off in the same season and it has nothing to do with their defensive coordinator? So Matt Abike has an all-pro year. Roquan Smith. Now again, I'm not excusing them completely. I mean, obviously they have to play better, but magically 1, 2, 3, 4 guys just fell off magically altogether, and they're not old.
Some of it has to do schematically for sure, but not. I mean, look, at the end of the day, execution comes down to the players.
I mean, catching the balls for sure. We've saw, yeah.
And we've talked time and time again this year about how surprising it's been to have seen Roquan Smith take certain angles, be slow in certain routes. That's been a big surprise. How much of that has to do with his running mate Trenton Simpson? How much of that has to do with the amount of communication that's on his plate as the green dot communicator? How much of that has to do with what's going on up front?
Well, I mean that's why I named 6 things. I mean, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like there's six ways to fix it, and several of them were 4 players. But I think Evan makes a very good point.
Habitual line stepper says, I expect EDC to make a move either in the next 8 days or sign off the cut market. What?
Sign off the cut. Oh, sign somebody who's a free agent.
Oh, yeah. 5-3, deja vu, trap game, check. CV dropsies game, check. CV dropsies, check. Flock does Lamar put on his cape and take us on another run. What's the CV dropsies?
I don't know the CV part, but obviously he's saying they're dropping the ball a lot.
Lamar's certainly capable of putting on that cape. Gabe says APB, missing persons out for Mads?
Madabike. Yep.
Madabike. Diehard Eddie says, let the young guys start because they might be more hungry and ready to prove themselves. Drops are killing us left and right. It's detrimental to our game plan and overall team morale. More leadership. Chef Trez says, my game day overreaction is over, but still want to see Kane or Braid, meaning Sanusi or Bo.
Mm-hmm.
We need hungry dogs in the secondary. We aren't the Titans. Leave the Wildcat at the door. Jaquan says, do you think we can trade Williams? Oh, we can stop right there.
No.
Do you think we can trade Williams, Jackson, and a third for Micah, meaning Micah? Oh, Parsons or Hyde? Parsons. Start the YNs. Kyle, Braid, Washington, Kane. But what's the YNs? The youngins? Oh, the youngins.
Youngins.
Yeah.
I would just say to counter that, if you were the Ravens and you had Micah, would you give Micah up for that package? 2 guys that are putting on film that they're part of the reason that you're the 32nd ranked pass defense.
Nobody's doing that.
No, they're not going to do that.
Nobody's doing that. Let's see. We just got a boatload of super chats, so hold on. I got to make sure I'm caught up to speed here.
Okay.
Thank you guys for being here. Over 4,200 of you spending your lunch hour or your mornings or wherever you are with us. Please like the video on the way in. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when we're dropping our daily live content. Nick Clemens says the Ravens need multiple moves. Clowney and Honey Badger on defense. Mike Williams at wide receiver for a jump ball guy. The time is now. Stop wasting prime Lamar. I think Jadeveon would be an easy call, Sarah.
Well, he may have already made the call. I don't know.
Be an easy call. Who the heck wants to be in Carolina right now?
The thing that stinks about it is I'm sure EDC, to do that, he'd be like, man, I guess I just should have re-signed him rather than have to give up a draft pick and then pay his salary.
Yeah. Although, would it really even out in terms of what he ended up getting from Carolina? Like what did he get? Didn't he get over $20 million from him?
Let me look it up.
I want to say that was the deal.
Keep going with the super chats.
Yeah, you check that for us. Afterlife Omega says the defense is scrambling before the snap or is lost. There was a lot of confusion. We highlighted that in our post-game live stream. By the way, Brandon Stevens, one of the multiple players who tried to reassure media or stick by the fact that communication wasn't an issue. At least it wasn't yesterday in Brandon Stevens' mind. The tape says otherwise. Prince Lee says we should hire Warren Sapp. What do you guys think? Where is he right now? Is Warren just chilling? Captain Hard says, why change the scheme from what Mike McDonald did last year? I get you want to put your own print on the defense, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You got there's a lot of different parts though, Captain. Rave Kingdom says, facts, Sarah, 5 Pro Bowlers and $70 million safety has an internal situation. All just magically all just magically sucks. I'm sorry, Bobby. Sarah's spitting. Gabe says executing the right calls that put you in the wrong place is not on the players. Robbie Pate says we really downplayed losing Queen, Geno, and Clowney.
Clowney, by the way, you were right. 2-year, $20 million.
Yeah, the Ravens weren't giving him that. Can't imagine.
No.
Scott says, no talk yet about Tucker. We did on the postgame show.
Yeah, we did.
We all love him, but the misses are concerning. Most NFL games are decided by a single score. He's got to be better. And, I listened to some sports radio this morning, Sarah. This is interesting. I know we got other content to cover as well. We're getting up against the clock here a little bit. But some were like, wow, Justin's miss from 50 wasn't a big deal. It absolutely was. Like, you can't just look at it like, okay, they lost by 5 and he didn't make that, which would have been 3, which wouldn't have been a deciding factor. That changes the way that you strategize in game.
Yeah.
And then the more and more I think about it, going forward on going forward on 4th down on that opening drive and getting stopped. For in-division games, I get it. Your offense is humming. You've had so much success on 4th down this year. You've had so much success with Lamar and Derek. And maybe you didn't know that points were going to come at a premium the way they did yesterday for Baltimore. But in division, I just don't know. Putting the design aside for a second, taking the points there felt really, really wise. Given Cleveland's defense and the way they've played them in the past.
And just to your point on like how big of a deal Tucker's miss would have been, remember on the Ravens' final drive, it was 24-29. So they had to score a touchdown. Had Tucker made that field goal, in theory, it would be 27-29. So all you got to do is go down and kick a field goal, which Lamar Jackson and the offense certainly would have put Tucker in position to nail it, because they were at the I feel like they kept taking shots for a touchdown around the 25 or 30. Like, it's certainly doable for Tucker from there, even with how he missed previously. That definitely is a big difference maker.
Thanks, Scott. Evan says it doesn't matter what players we bring in via trade or free agency if the scheme and play calling is off. And Take No Prisoners says John's complacency has been infuriating during losses, zero accountability or change. And why can't Tez get snaps, meaning Devontae Walker? Keaton should also be a big return. And of course, Devontae was active yesterday for the second time this year. Did not log any snaps as a wide receiver, just special teams for the second consecutive game. And Keaton, of course, is in the middle of his 3-week window where he can potentially be activated from the PUP list here in the coming days. Okay, we got off on a little bit of a tangent because of the amount of, 28 to be exact, 28 Super Chat donations. Thank you guys for being here today. Where to next, partner?
Maybe we should do Lamar Jackson really quickly. And and then we can get to more on the offense. But we kind of mentioned we went over it yesterday in the post-game show, but if you happen to miss that, Gene Steratore put out a video and a tweet that said that the referees in yesterday's game missed a tripping call. So he says officiating mobile quarterbacks involves additional considerations compared to traditional pocket passers. Lamar Jackson extended the play with a juke, and a defender extended his leg to tackle him. This should have been penalized as tripping since there was no whipping motion with the leg. If there was a whipping motion, it would be a foul for a leg whip. Both are 15-yard penalties. So he's saying you have to have more consideration for somebody like Lamar versus if you're just standing back. So I quote retweeted that, and I took a screen grab of I'm not going to get
itself. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Joke because it makes it easier to say. I say, yeah, pretty obvious mistripping call, and he does. He looks like he's like pulling out karate, kung fu, whatever you want to call it. So at about 9 o'clock, Lamar replies to my tweet. He says, "Not even. MFer kicked me in the elbow. LOL." But White Cap, meaning the referee, said they can do that. And then he has one of those dizzying emojis and says, "Wowzers." So he clearly had a conversation with the referees, saying his leg was so far up, it's hit me in my elbow. So not only is he like on the run, but you hit him in the elbow. Like now you're taking away, first of all, you're kicking him down to tackle him, and you're taking away his ability to throw it. So Lamar Jackson has been more vocal, obviously, on officiating this year. But this one, I think just venting some post-game frustration. Certainly nobody here is saying that the referees is the reason why the Ravens lost. Not at all. For some reason, whenever we talk about missed officiating, everybody goes to that conclusion. We like to hold everybody accountable, including the referees. And according to Gene Steratore, they're just wrong. And they told Lamar that it could happen. And Gene Steratore is saying, no, it cannot.
Yeah, that was some late night frustration from Lamar. 9:01 is the timestamp there. So had a chance to probably sit back and think about the game itself. And obviously this was before JOK went down with a very, very serious neck injury, as we covered on the post-game stream. So hopefully he's doing okay. The reports out there, the reports out there were that he was immediately transported to the hospital, and he did have movement in all of his extremities. So dude's a hell of a player, and just caught Derrick Henry. Obviously had a bad time. Just the king, the brute that is King.
Two more things on that real quick, Bobby. Number one, I feel like I need to say wowzers more often. I haven't used that in a while. Love that. Love that from Lamar. Number two, what was also funny is joke after that. It seemed like his celebration also involved kicking. I couldn't tell if he was like recognizing what he did was wrong, but then he's like, oh, nice, I didn't get called for it, or if he was celebrating with another kick. But he was still kicking even after the play, which was a little bit funny.
Where to?
Maybe on to Todd Monken here. Kip Smithers, who's just a Ravens Flock tweeter, he tweeted something that I know was that's been on my mind. And then I think Shannon Sharp and Nightcap kind of spoke to it too. But as we know, yesterday, Derrick Henry only had 11 carries. And Kip says that tells me in this loss that the Ravens coaching staff hasn't learned a dang thing since the AFC Championship game, and they'll do it again come January. And Bobby, I also don't understand it. People talk about how when the Ravens are playing from behind, maybe that's why they start running less. But they never were down by more than 3 points in the first half. And then they took the lead, obviously, late. They were never down by more than 3 points in the third quarter. They even took the lead at one point. And then it wasn't until, I guess, the beginning of the fourth that they're down by more than that. And so, okay, at that point, yeah, you got to be throwing the ball. But for 3 quarters, you're never out of it more than 3 points. That's not a reason not to run. It's not a reason at all. Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco talked about it last night on Nightcap.
Derrick Henry is averaging 129 yards a game. Go back and look at his last 3 to 4 games. He probably averaging 175. And you give him 11 carries?
Well, you know what? That's on Todd Monken. That's on him. And that's on the play calling. Something made them divert away from the run game. I don't know what that is.
Let me pause it here real quick. I think I know what it is. I think it's the offensive line. I think from the beginning, Todd Monken, like before the game had even started, it was clear that he scripted, because he scripts about the first 15 offensive plays. He scripted plays that weren't even challenging the Browns defensive line up the middle. And I think that's why he got a bit cute on those 3rd and 4th and shorts. So, but if you don't have confidence in the offensive line, I don't know that the answer is 11 carries to Derrick Henry. To me, it's use Derrick Henry and Lamar together and keep people guessing of who's going to get the ball. Use play action. Don't abandon it. So I think that was the reason, though I don't think the answer was correct. All right, let me keep playing this clip here.
The Ravens, you have the recipe on that 5-game winning streak that you went on. What did you do?
I don't know.
You ran the ball. They had 45 carries against the Cowboys.
Well, you know why? You know why it was 45 carries? Because they can't stop the goddamn run. Hell, they couldn't stop a goddamn nosebleed.
Ocho, you averaging 6 yards a carry on 21 carries. What the run game also does, if you know you have a weak defense, running the football helps you keep their ass off the field.
Yeah.
The weakest part of the Ravens is what, Ocho? Their defense. What keeps them off the field, Ocho? Running the football.
I think he's got it right there, Bobby.
If it is an offensive line trust thing, I have a hard time blaming Monken yesterday. I have a hard time blaming Monken yesterday. Those lanes, those open windows. How many times did we say yesterday in the postgame live stream? How many times Derek was met in the backfield? It was not working. He had a couple of his big gash runs, but it was
early. He had a 39-yarder early.
He did. But after that, what was there after that? I got to look at his splits. He had the long of 39. He finished 11 for 73. It's a nice average of 6.6 as Unk was getting at.
The 39 obviously helps.
The 39 helps that number, skews it a little bit. But I don't know if I can blame him there.
But
Cleveland
Bobby,
came ready.
What is your biggest threat on offense? It's this duo. It's the duo. So like options, faking it, keeping it, like keep them guessing as you've been doing all year. This whole thing right here, Ryan Mink re-showed, I can't show the whole video, but he said, here's what happened on the Ravens failed 4th and 1 direct snap to Derrick Henry. I appreciate that he got creative in that. He brought Ronnie Stanley over. That's Ronnie Stanley next to Charlie Kolar. And they both ended up getting beat. Their two guys, number 6 especially, hit Derrick Henry before he even got to the line of scrimmage. But the point is if you don't have confidence in them against this Browns defensive line, who's very good, by the way, keep them guessing. You're not making them guess here. You know it's a direct snap to Derrick Henry, and these guys can tee off.
Yes.
So help your offensive line by making it a mystery of who's getting the ball between Lamar and Derrick Henry. That's why you can blame them.
Look, on this one, yes. We're talking about the game collectively.
I'm talking about collectively too. This is just an example of what I'm talking about overall.
Sure.
You don't abandon Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson because of the offensive line. I get that. But you can help the offensive line by making them guess all game long, whether it's play action or an RPO or a triple, like whatever it takes. Like keep them guessing. Don't telegraph what you're doing, which is constantly dropping back for Lamar or running out to the edges or a wildcat or like it just happened time and time again. Use your two threats and keep them guessing.
I don't think we're giving Cleveland's front enough respect.
I am. That's why I'm saying use Lamar and Derek to confuse them to help your offensive line. Don't go away from who you are because you're still helping them by dropping the back nonstop and they could just go and rush Lamar Jackson. How are we not giving them respect?
Myles Garrett generated. Well, you're asking why they got away from the run, right?
No, I'm saying that my theory of why they got away from the run is because there wasn't trust in the offensive line versus the defensive line. That's me giving props to their defensive line, not taking away from them. But
Right.
what I'm saying is the solution to me is using your duo and keeping that defensive line at least a half second behind, so they're guessing what you're doing.
I don't know if Todd trusted the duo yesterday. Myles Garrett generated.
Well, I hope that's not what he says. You don't trust Lamar and Derek. You're going to instead put it in Charlie Kolar's hand.
Well, obviously that's not the option. That's not the answer. But Garrett had a quietly effective game. Myles Garrett had 8 pressures on 33 pass rushes. 6 of his pressures Cole Jackson put these numbers out. 6 of his pressures across 26 matchups came against Ronnie.
So slow him down by not abandoning Derrick Henry. The answer is right there.
What else did Unc and Ocho have to say?
Well, we don't have enough time, but they were talking about how Jameis Winston, they were saying obviously Watson isn't the answer because Joe Flacco can run the offense and now Jameis Winston can run the offense. And so they're saying that Watson is clearly the problem. And a lot of people are saying that in Cleveland. I'll just say this. Maybe Cleveland, this is going to be another Joe Flacco moment. Maybe it will. I would just say to Cleveland, wait until you're not up against the 32nd pass defense, who also was hampered by losing 2 of their corner starters. So maybe this will be a new page for them, just like Joe Flacco was. But also, I would pump the brakes if I were Cleveland to make sure that they can repeat this against a more sound pass defense.
Let's get some super chats here. Rave says you're spitting. I think that's the second time somebody said you were spitting today.
I think it's Rave twice. So thank you.
Captain Hard says 11 touches isn't enough at all. Nick says YouTube super chat keyboard is so bad, guys. LOL. That makes me feel a little bit better. I've been getting ripped for the way that I've been reading these. Just so you guys know that when we put up the super chats, it's the first time that we read it.
Yeah.
It's not that we haven't been able to scope through these things. By the way, YNs is not youngins. I've learned that earlier on in the chat.
Did you learn what it is?
Oh yeah. Can't say it either.
Oh, okay.
I'll get absolutely crucified. Juju Bean says that was pitiful that Kyle Hamilton or Roquan weren't in the locker room and left Jackson on his own. I have almost zero faith in this defense. Just to be clear, we don't know if there was some sort of priority that they had, like Sarah said earlier on, treatment, plane, whatever it was. Did they fly to Cleveland?
Pretty sure they did.
They typically fly to Cleveland, right?
Yeah. It would be like a 7 or 8 hour drive. I'm pretty sure they flew. Yeah.
Take No Prisoner says, and I think we have, we're all right. We're fully caught up to speed on chats. Are we?
No, I don't think so. I think some new ones have come in.
Let's see. Oh, yeah. Captain Hart says, what's really sad is I bet Cleveland is going to have a bad game next week.
Let me look up who they play.
Yeah, check who they got. Larry says, translation, don't make it easier for the Browns defense. Keep them guessing. Got it, Sarah.
Browns play the Los Angeles Chargers, and they look like they're home. And then they have a bye. They'll be feeling really good about themselves if they are able to beat the Chargers and then go into a bye. That's for sure.
So they got the Chargers next week. They're sitting at 2-6. Pittsburgh has the Giants tonight. Monday Night Football. They're 5-2. And the Ravens, of course, have the Denver Broncos coming up. It's a 1:00 home game on Sunday. that statistic that I mentioned earlier on, the Ravens allowing a league high 9 touchdowns from outside the red zone. Denver is the only team still without a touchdown scored from outside the red zone. So we'll see how
Think
those
Jameis can give more prayers for a Steelers loss?
Jameis is, I mean, whatever he prays about, typically those prayers are answered. So
Here we go.
you can hit him up. All right, people. Oh, shoot. I forgot to
Quick
load
hits?
our live chats. All right, go ahead. Yeah,
Okay,
you
quick
do that.
hits
I got to
real
get our
quick.
patrons.
Top PFF grades for the Ravens on offense, it was Lamar Jackson at 81.7, then Derrick Henry, who they forgot to use, at 78.2, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, and then Nelson Aguilar. Whew. The offensive line must have been bad, Bobby, because didn't Nelson? No, he had one drop.
Yep, on third down.
Yeah, okay.
All 3 drops came on third down.
Okay. The defense, highest graded. Kyle Hamilton, 82.1. Bro, could have won the game. Kyle Van Noy, 79.5. Yannick Ngakoue, 72.5. Tavius Robinson, 71.1. And then Odafe Owe, 68.2. So other than Kyle Hamilton, nobody in the secondary and no linebackers, middle linebackers. Let's see. Is that all the quick hits? Is that all we had?
I think we are, and that gave me a minute to get our patrons updated as well, which I needed, so thank you. And Kai and Darian, we appreciate you guys for the support that you give us. And let me give you your full names, too, because I just did it quickly. Kaiue Rupp and Darian Covington, thank you both for believing in what we're building. We appreciate you guys being a part of the Vault Patreon community. And if you guys are interested in doing the same this football season, by the way, this is Kai and Darian's monthly shout-out. If you guys want to sign up for that as well, you can join the Vault Patreon community by visiting patreon.com/Ravens Vault podcast. There's a link that's included in the show notes if you're interested in learning more.
I think we just missed this one. Just to give him a little love. Derrick Henry has recorded a touchdown in every Ravens game this season. Did he score? Yeah, he scored, right?
The King did, yeah.
Yeah.
One rushing touchdown.
Jeez, already. Oh yeah. That was when that was on the penultimate Ravens offensive drive when Lamar was like pushing it down and then Derrick Henry finished it. So yeah, he's recorded a touchdown in every Ravens game this season, becoming the first player in NFL history with a touchdown in each of his first 8 games with a team.
So and more 11th hour chats.
Oh, here we go.
Coming in here. Eileen says the locker room needs saged and exorcism needs done because there is way too much negativity. Sage and exorcism? Is that what she meant by that?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's just saying, like, get out all the bad juju.
Spiritual, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Eileen. And
she's being partly funny.
XZGin, I swear, you guys just trying to do this to me now? XZGin, the Reaper, says, in a perfect world, Zach Orr steps down, Ravens hire Robert Saleh, and Ravens make a blockbuster trade. Couple clarifications from this stream. Robert Saleh is part-time with Green Bay, not full-time. He's just acting as a consultant right now with his buddy Matt LaFleur.
So technically he's available then.
For sure, for the right opportunity.
Right.
And then Warren Sapp, who a past commenter via Super Chat mentioned that the Ravens should hire, suggested the Ravens should hire, is currently one of Dion's assistants in Colorado. I had mentioned, where is he? What's he up to? I had forgotten that he was hired, I think within the last year or two. Moneybag says, same mistake as Monken made in the AFC Championship is what he did yesterday. He panics so easily. Shaking my head. And I think now we're fully caught up to speed.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, thanks to all 37 of you who dropped in a Super Chat donation. Just so you guys know, that new giveaway that we're doing, thanks to our new partner, Homage, will be on Wednesday this week. At least tentatively, that's the schedule. So come with your Super Chats for that stream and every other stream, should you feel inclined. And thanks to Mantis Sleep for sponsoring this episode. As always, you can support our brand sponsor. You can support us by clicking on the link that we have included as a pinned comment in the live chat. So for Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this day after this Monday Ravens lunch hour live stream. It's going to be a busy week. John Harbaugh speaks with reporters in a little over an hour from right now at One Winning Drive. It'll be interesting to see if he's asked about a number of things, maybe a follow-up on Marcus, what's up with David Ajabo, maybe something about Zach Orr. I'm sure there's going to be plenty to come from this one, including the statuses of maybe a Nate Wiggins, a Marlon Humphrey. I'm sure there'll be other things as well that are just not coming off the top of my mind right now. So, partner, appreciate you as always. Good
debate today.
Show.
Love it when we debate.
Good stuff. Me too. We went not quite 90 minutes, Chef. I know Chef Trez is somewhere like, hey, we're gonna get you to 90 minutes, but we gave you, what did we give you? 81, 82 minutes. So anyway, thanks guys for being here. Like the video on your way out if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when we're dropping our daily live content. And as always, thanks for joining us here inside the vault.